Good day, guys. Again, here we are, the trio tagapayo of English teachers. So I'm here with me, Mr. John Lac Escasinas and Ms. Jesusa Hampak, and yours truly, Mr. Timothy Paular. And for today, we will be having a discussion regarding the main literary genre of literature, which is prose and poetry. So, with let's start this discussion. Simulan na natin.
Okay, so we're going to talk about prose and poetry in a more detailed manner. So, John Lac Escasinas, take it away, my friend.
So, prose and poetry is under fiction. So, when we say fiction, it refers to any imaginative fact and ideas of life. So, the characters and settings are purely works of the author's mind and may or may not happen in real life situations. So, like we have mentioned last video, so when we say fiction, it can be from someone's imagination, but it can happen or it may not happen in real life situation.
Okay. So
Okay, next.
came from
Yes, Mr. Tim.
Yes, it came from the imaginative part of the brain, which explores what could happen or if this thing could happen. So ito yung mga bagay-bagay na what if ng buhay. Sige. Kung yung mga bagay na parang hindi mangyari sa katotohanan, ay ito, dito natin itinutuloy yung kwento ng buhay natin o kwento ng mga authors.
Correct.
Sige.
Move.
Okay, short story. So when we say short story, this is a short narrative story, as the name suggests, which focuses on a single plot and characterized by its different elements. So nabanggit naman natin sa huling video na yung short story ay it only has single plot. Right?
So,
okay,
plot,
so let's see the elements of short story.
Not to what you call this one again, it is referred to as the slice of life. The elements of short story.
Okay, let's have the setting. So this refers to the time, place, and condition in which the story takes place. So sa short story, ito yung
So this is the time and the place where and when the story happened. It can be, okay, it can be implied or stated. Pag sinabi nating implied, hindi masyadong sinabi or hindi detalyado or hindi eksakto na sinabi kung saang lugar at kailan nangyari. For example, it was a sunny day. It was a sunny day in a rocky road. Ganun siya yung implied, okay? So ikaw, mag-i-imagine ka pa. Saan yung rocky road?
Yeah,
saan yung sunny?
True. At anong oras?
At anong oras?
Example, i-example natin si Mr. Kim. Kunyari, example of implied. One day, isang araw, joke lang. One day, Mr. Tim is sipping his coffee while reading his newspaper beside the fireplace. So it is implied. Hindi sinabi ko anong oras, hindi sinabi ko anong araw. Right? But then, if you're going to think of it, malalaman mo na pwedeng umaga yung setting or yung time ng story. Kasi, based doon sa description na si Mr. Tim umiinom ng kape at nagbabasa ng newspaper, which is usually done during morning.
Morning. Correct. And the other kind of setting is called stated. Pag sinabi naman nating stated, for example, is once upon a time in a kingdom called Tralala. Okay? Tralala. A long, long time ago during the 5th century o ganun. Okay? Merong
So,
time and
nabanggit.
merong
May
uh,
specific time.
specific time and place kung kailan at saan nangyari. That is setting. Moving. Ayan na nga. Nasabi ko na yan. Sorry na. Okay? Bida-bida po si ma'am. Nagmamadali.
Masyado mabilis.
Sorry. Kasi pag di tayo mabilis, maiiwanan tayo. Okay, so sa types of setting, it can be stated and implied. Sabi ko nga kanina, stated is directly given, specific. Pag sinabing implied, suggested, or you have to think of it bago mo maisip na, oh, ito nga yung setting, ito nga yung time, ito nga yung place. Okay, move. Ayaw.
Okay, next element of short story is characters. Okay, so who are the characters or what is characters? So these are the persons or the people, animals or things involved in the story. Bakit kasama yung animals and things? Kasi nga, meron tayong fables. So, alam naman natin na ang main characters sa fables ay ay animals and mga bagay-bagay. So sila yung mga players or actors sa short story. Example of that, yan yung mga bagani. So we have ganda, liksi. Sino si liksi sa inyo dyan? All right. So like the setting, we also have types of characters according to the, we have types of characters. So first is according to the role. So one is the main character, and the second one is the minor character. When we say main character, the story revolves around them. So nakafocus sa kanila yung story. Like say for example, ang probinsyano. So nakafocus sa kay Cardo and sa family ni Cardo yung story. And of course, siya yung pinaka main characters to. Siya yung one of the main characters sa story, right?
Yes.
Next is the minor characters or the supporting ones or extra. So ito yung kunyari, kapitbahay or friend ng bida or ng kontrabida. So sila yung mga supporting ones.
Okay.
Oy, baka sa tingin ng mga bata, walang kwenta yung minor. Minsan, yan yung tipping point or minsan sila yung nagdadala ng mga, plot twist sa kwento. So, don't think na pag sinabing minor or supporting actor lang or character is walang kwenta na agad yun, ha? So, minsan
like
kasi
minor characters from the start can be main characters na pagka medyo gitna na, ganun. Kunyari, bigla siyang nalaman na siya yung nawawalang anak. Siya pala yung main character.
Ganyan naman mga yung Filipino.
The usual.
So, mga
the usual plot.
Siya nawawalang anak.
Nagkapalit ng anak.
True, ganun. Diba? Akala mo minor lang siya, yung pala main pala siya. Hindi pala siya side chick. Charot. Moving. Okay.
Okay, next types of characters is according to personality. So we have protagonists and antagonists. So the protagonist, this refers to the hero or heroine character in the story. So ito yung tinatawag nating bida.
The bida.
Sila ang bida. Ikaw ang bida ngayon. Sure. Okay, so next one is the antagonist. So this refers to the villain who opposes the hero in the story. So sila yung mga kontrabida. Sila
Example.
yung gumagawa ng paraan para mapahamak or mamatay, masawi ang
Kawi
ating
ang
hero.
bida.
Okay.
Example sa
Example of this ay Kadenang Ginto, Marga and
Cassie.
si Cassie, right? So si Cassie, of course, yung protagonist, and the antagonist is si Marga.
Okay, so that
Another example, Miss Sampa.
example sa what they call this one sa Endgame, Endgame tsaka Avengers Endgame.
Mm-mm.
So maraming antagonist, pero yung protagonist syempre Avengers tsaka yung mga ibang Marvel superheroes din kasama si Thanos sa antagonists. Okay? So, sila yung mga gumagawa ng paraan para mapahamak yung ating mga bida. Sila ang mga bida-bida. Movie.
Galit na galit.
Galit na galit. Galit ako sa kontrabida, mga friends. Okay, moving.
Okay. Next one is the types of characters according to the development of the story. So we have two again, the dynamic or round character, and the second one is the static or flat character. So when we say dynamic character, it changes. So the personality changes. Say for example, from good to bad or bad to good, right? Okay. Next one is the static flat character. So this is a type of character wherein his personality remains the same. If she's bad in the beginning of the story, bad siya hanggang dulo ng story.
Correct. Example for dynamic or round. Siguro yung
Example,
sige,
si Nebula ba yun? Nebula. Sa may, yung kapatid ni ano.
Sige, magsabi ka ng mga karakter na hindi namin kilala.
Yung sa Endgame or doon din sa ano.
Saan ba? Okay, doon na tayo, babalik tayo dun sa ano.
Oh, yun. Nagbago siya, di ba? Una, masama. Tapos naging kakampi. Oh.
Correct, oo. Ano pa ba yung mga ganun? Yung sa Vampire Diaries, my friends. Okay? So,
Sino doon?
una, kontrabida si Damon Salvatore. Okay? And nung lumaon, siya na yung naging kakampi. Okay? Naging katoto na siya ng kanyang kapatid at ni Elena. For static naman, yung hindi nagbabago, sino ba yung hindi nagbabago? Si Lola Flora. Mula umpisa hanggang dulo, maalalahanin, nag-aalala lagi. Si Lola Flora ng probinsyano, lagi siya nag-aalala mula umpisa, mula nung first airing ng probinsyano, then 4 years or 3 years ago, nag-aalala pa rin siya kay Carlo. So, she is a static or flat character. Okay? Nagigets nyo ba? Sana nagigets nyo. Okay, next.
Okay. Next element of short story is what we call plot.
Plot. It's a plot, not flat.
So when we say plot, this is the series of actions and events happen in the story. So ito yung flow. Yes, the flow. Ito yung flow ng story. Kung paano siya tumatakbo.
Okay, so tignan natin.
Okay, there are actually 5 plots a part of the plot. So we have exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement. Okay, so what is exposition? So this is the part that sets the mood of the story. In exposition class, it introduces the characters, the setting. So that is exposition.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So, your
Next
exposition
one,
should be catchy, di ba? Should be catchy kasi
yes,
yun yung umpisang-umpisa ng kwento mo. Kasi kung pangit sa
exactly,
umpisa, ba't pa ako magbabasa?
true. Because it catches the attention of the reader.
Correct. Next.
Next is rising action. It is the part of the plot that marks the onset of the major conflict in the story. So it introduces the conflict, pero hindi pa siya as in nangyayari.
Mm-mm.
Pinakita pa lang.
For example, ano pa lang, what they call this one? Nagsasalisi pa ang kabit at ang asawa. Yan. Nagkakasalisi pa lang sila, wala pang problema kasi hindi pa sila
Confrontation. Hindi pa
So,
nalalaman.
salisi-salisi sila sa mall, kunyari, nagpunta yung isa doon sa kabilang shop, yung isa naman doon sa katabing shop. So, ganun lang yung mga rising action natin. Okay. Yung mga
And the next
example ko,
one, the favorite.
The
The
favorite.
favorite part.
The favorite part.
Okay, the climax. So it is the part that builds the highest tension and considered to be the story's highest point of interest. Ito
Favorite ni
yung
John Locke yan.
highest peak ng emotion and interest. Talagang mataas. Dito nagaganap ang sampalan, sabunutan. Dito nalalaman ang mga kababalaghang nangyayari sa kwento.
Correct. Ito na yung hindi ka na makaalis sa upuan mo kasi kailangan mo itong mapanood. Kung hindi, mawawala ang kalahati ng buhay mo.
Exactly. Ito yung mapapasabi ka na antok ka na pero next episode.
Biglang nagising. Bigla kang magigising. Parang,
Next episode, pipindutin mo sa Netflix kapag nanonood ka ng mga series, di ba? Ganyan.
Pero, yung ayaw mong mabitin. Falling action.
Okay, falling action, this marks the revelation and realization of the character. So ito, paunti-unti nang nasusolve or nasusolusyonan yung problem. So, napapakita na siya kung paano.
Ito na yung mga parting nagsusorry na, yung mga may kasalanan. Na-realize na nilang mali sila. Okay? So, ito na yung mga times
na bankrupt. Na bankrupt yung bangko or yung kumpanya tapos unti-unti nang
unti-unti na naayos. Oo.
Yes. Nagiging phoenix na.
Next.
Okay, next one and the last one is denouement. This is the final or there's resolution or outcome of the story. So dito natin malalaman if the protagonist succeeded or nag-fail siya. Or sometimes kung may dito nalalaman kung namatay yung kalaban or natalo yung kalaban or the other way around.
Dito na natin malalaman kung happy ending or sad ending.
Or yes, if it is tragic or happy ending.
So, not really 5 parts but or 5 types. 5 types.
Yan. Sa mga baka dinudugo-dugo na kayo, medyo na to, pang major na to sa creative, medyo creative writing na tong part na to. Pero nawamatulungan pa rin kayo. Malay nyo, kahit ABM, ICT, or STEM kayo, malay mo, there's a hidden writer in you. Kaya sige, let's keep the faith. Try na natin to.
Open yourselves to new opportunities.
Kasi yung iba nalulula. Sabi, ano to? Ano itong mga pinagtuturo sa amin?
Ba't parang kasalanan ko?
Parang nagugulat na sila sa mga terms.
Yes. Okay, go. For the 5 types of the plot, Sir John Locke.
Okay, first is we have pyramidal plot or linear. So, ito yung usual na plot, yung nakaganon. So, meron nga siyang, yung kanina, meron siyang mag-start siya sa exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement. So, it follows that kind of pattern or format.
So, it's the usual. Ito yung pangkaraniwan.
Yes. The next one is the circular plot or ito yung kind ng plot na it ends where it started. Meaning to say, if nanood kayo pala, example of this is kung napanood nyo yung what do you call this? yung movie ni Ann Curtis.
What's that?
And Marco Gumabaw.
Ano nga yun, yung title?
Ano yata, ang title nun yung may kabit yun, di ba?
Oh, kabit si Marco.
Oo.
Ano yun? Nakalimutan ko. Basta yun, sa Netflix. Pero syempre, huwag yung panoorin yung mga parating. Malma kayo.
Ayun. So, actually, yung unang pinakita doon sa movie is kung ano talaga yung dulo. Yung nagko-confess si Anne ng kasalanan.
Doon sa pare.
Yes.
Kung saan nagsimula, doon din natapos.
Iba yung
ayaw naming mag-spoil, pero yun na nga yun. Yun yung ending, tsaka yun yung beginning. Okay, so pag sinabi circular plot nga, ikot-ikot lang, ikot-ikot. Yun. Mula umpisa, kung ano yung umpisa, yun din yung dulo. Next.
Next one is the episodic. When we say episodic, so it consists of mga episodes. So, para siyang nakahati-hati.
Series.
Yes.
Cumulative.
Okay, next one is cumulative plot. So when we say cumulative plot, it is repetitive. Meaning to say, it's like a chain tale wherein if something happened, it is repeated in the story. So, inuulit-ulit, parang nauulit-ulit yung story. Actually, a lot of cumulative plot or cumulative stories are humorous or minsan nakakatakot. But a lot of cumulative plots are in humorous way.
Kasi ano yung joke, di ba? Parang yung way of delivery ng joke, ganun pa rin. Or minsan yung sa horror, yung paano dinugulat yung yung character or paano tinatakot yung character is paulit-ulit lang din yung way. Paano pinapatay, di ba? Yung sequence of killing, di ba yung mga ganon? Or paano, basta ganon.
Kaya rin siya nakakatawa kasi nga parang paulit-ulit nangyari, parang hindi mo pa alam yung ano.
Kunyari sa Tom and Jerry, di ba? Yung plot nun. Laging na binabatukan, laging hinahabol, nauuntog. So kahit paulit-ulit siya, kay ano,
parang alam mo pa din. Parang yung twist. Parang surprising pa din.
Ano pangalan nun? Mr. Bean, yung mga ganyan.
Yan. Oo, tama ka din.
Next is in medias res. So when we say in medias res, this is a type of story or type of plot wherein it starts in the middle of the story. So examples of it are the Odyssey, Iliad, and Divine Comedy. Okay, how about you, Mr. Tim? Do you have any example?
Regarding in media res?
Yes.
I still remember the Great Gatsby because at the beginning part of the Great Gatsby, it started that he is so rich. He started rich, and then he became one of the person who throws party every week. I think every month or every week. And then at the middle part at the last part, it showed what happened, kung ano yung nangyari, kung bakit siya nandun, nandoko pala siya ng mga tao, pinakita yung totoong background niya. So yun, I still remember.
So meaning to say, it uses flashback in order to go back to the past.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good morning everyone. Again, here we are. I'm Sir Tim. Kasama ko ngayon si Sir John Lack at si Ma'am Hampak para ituro naman sa inyo ang mga aspects of ng poetry. So let's start with the meaning of it. So it is defined as a literary type written in verses that make up stanzas. It contains measurement, rhyming, or sound pattern and tone. I think in my opinion ito ang pinaka mataas na art form ng literature because matagal yung pagkakasulat nito. Unlike today na marami na nagsusulat ng mga free verse poetry, but most of the time yung poetry talaga ay mataas ang respeto sa rhyming, sa sound pattern at sa tone. And anong pinagkaiba niya mainly sa mga iba pang literature, poetry is written in verse, di ba? Linya-linya lang, may pabitin lagi, and then susundan ng isa pang linya. So again, ito yung aaralin natin for today, yung mga iba't ibang uri neto at iba pang mga additional information about poetry. So stay tuned. So let's start.
Okay, let's begin sa elements ng poetry. Okay, let's have the first element. We have the speaker or persona of the poem. So when we say speaker or persona of the poem, this is the one who is speaking in the poem. Usually class, ang speaker or persona ng poem, ito yung nagsasalita na sa poetry or sa poem. It could be the writer itself, but if it is autobiography, but mas usual kapag, or it is usually the usual speaker or persona of the poem is it could be anyone. Like say for example, if the poem is about love, it could be say for example a person who is in love. Or it could be say for example the poem is yung ating poem ay yung ako ay may alaga asong mataba, buntot niya'y mahaba, and so on and so forth. The speaker or persona of that poem is, it could be a dog lover. So, meaning to say, kung sino yung nagsasalita sa poem, yun yung speaker or persona.
Correct.
Okay?
So, for example, another example is the song Anak, okay, by Freddie Aguilar. So, it's for anak, okay, or someone is speaking to a child, okay? So, sino yung nagsasalita? Maybe it is a parent, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that it is Freddie Aguilar who is speaking in the song or in the poem. So,
Okay, next is the addressee. So, addressee is the recipient or the person that the sender is talking to. So, ito yung nagtatanggap ng message ng poem. Say for example, ang poem natin ay about nature. So it could be yung tayong mga tao, it could be yung mga sumisira ng kalikasan, it could say for example, ang poem ay about sa pagtatanim ng puno, kung paano alagaan ang ating kalikasan. Maaari na ang pinapadalhan ng speaker or persona ng poem ay yung mga taong sumisira nito. Or it could be yung mga taong patuloy na nangangalaga ng ating kalikasan. So, ang addressee ay yung tagatanggap or receiver ng message ng poem. It's not always the reader, since kami naman yung nagbasa, pwede, pero dapat specific yung addressee.
Okay? So, isipin nyo na laging may initial context or may initial audience, may primary audience ang mga writer, hindi agad kayo.
Okay, so let's move on sa next element. Okay, we have the tone. It refers to the poet's or speaker's attitude towards the subject, towards the reader, or towards himself. So meaning to say, yung tone daw, ito yung atmosphere or yung nararamdaman ng author or ng speaker ng poem sa buong poetry. Say for example, kunyari ang poem ay about sa pagbe-break ng magjowa. Say for example, binrake ka ng jowa mo, tapos gumawa ka ng poem. Ang tone nito, it could be sad, it could be melancholic, something like that. So kung masaya naman yung poem, say for example, ang kanta or yung poem ay yung nagsasaad ng masayang damdamin. So masaya yung magiging tone ng poem.
Example of that is Tonight I Can Write the Saddest Lines by Pablo Neruda. If you would be reading that, you would be feeling the tone. Okay? Parang mararamdaman, malalaman mo talaga ano ba yung tone niya sa pamamagitan lang ng mga words na ginamit niya at yung pagkaka-sequence ng mga verses. Basta, it's a good read.
Sometimes, what they call this one, there are these so-called tone and mood. Sometimes tone and mood are different from each other. Pag sinabing tone, that's what the writer or the author is feeling while he or she is writing the poem. But mood is actually the one that the readers are receiving. Kung ano yung nararamdaman nila habang binabasa nila. Minsan kasi, magkaiba yung emosyon na nararamdaman ng reader at saka yung nararamdaman ng writer habang sinusulat niya yung piece. So, baka medyo, ano yun,
True. See, for example, yung poem ay about nga dun sa pag-break na jowa mo. Pero ang pinararamdaman pala ng author ay, okay, handa na akong palayain siya, handa na akong mag-move on. But ikaw, ang naramdaman mo, masakit.
Masakit.
So, iba. Right?
Oo nga. Alam niyo yung pinakamahirap pag pinahanap ng teacher niyo, what is the tone of the poem? Parang, sino ba tayo? Para husgahan yung
So,
isang tao.
pwede mo yung gawin doon ay you need to put yourself into the shoes of the speaker itself para madama nyo talaga.
Correct.
Right.
Kasi, kunyari, yung what they call this one, yung Tears in Heaven, it's a song. Diba? So, it's actually about the personal experience of the singer and the composer of the poem, diba? So, kung wala ka sa katayuan niya, hindi mo mararamdaman yung eksaktong feeling na nung sinulat niya yung song. So, ang magagawa mo lang is to feel kung ano yung nararamdaman mo nung binabasa mo yung mismo or kinakanta mo yung song na yun.
Yes.
Okay. So, moving on to the next element, we have rhyme. So, it is the repetition of similar sounds in two or more words. So, yung rhyme natin, ito yung pagkakaparehas ng sound sa isang line or sa isang stanza. Say for example, yung mga rhyme natin like, say for example, nagtapos yung line sa you, sa next line, magtatapos din sa u sound para similar sila ng rhyme. Right?
Yes.
May tinatawag din tayong rhyme scheme. Ito yung pagsukat ng ating mga rhymes. Usually nga sa dulo siya. Say for example, let's have the example of Twinkle Twinkle. Diba? Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, star. Nagtapos siya sa R, right? R sound. Tapos, how I wonder what you are. R din nagtapos yung sound. So, ang rhyme scheme natin, since pareha sila, A, A. Then kapag nag-change na ng rhyme, magiging na siyang B and kapag parehas yung 3 or 4 lines, magiging siyang A, A, B, B. Pero hindi ganun yung, yes, Mr. Tim?
Nag-AABB rin yung Twinkle Twinkle kasi yung sa third line niya, yung up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky.
So, I, parang something, okay. So, B, AABB. Mga singer, kantahin mo. Alright. So,
okay,
may mga rhyme tayo na katulad ng, may mga rhyme tayo na, kunyari sa end rhyme, meaning to say, sa dulo siya nag-rhyme, right? Meron din tayong mga rhyme na mga slant. Say for example, yung slant rhyme, yung hindi siya as in ganun ka perfect rhyme. It's like a half rhyme lang. Kunyari, yung tunog na love and dove. So yung love, hindi siya as in perfect na katunog ng what you call this? Yung love and dove. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, another rhyme or type of rhyme is I rhyme. Okay, yung I rhyme is magkamukha lang sila ng spelling but different in pronunciation or enunciation. So kapag nakakita kayo ng ganun, still it is considered a rhyme. So kapag nagsulat kayo ng rhyme scheme, parehas pa rin sila ng letter. Okay, moving on.
Okay. We have the examples of poetry. So we have the ode. So when we say ode, it is a poem of honor, admiration, and praise. This kind of poem is giving an honor, or when you are admiring, it could be a person, a place, or event. Say for example, nagandahan ka sa isang place and then gumawa ka ng poem about that place, that is an example of ode.
Or
Say
for
for example,
example,
nagandahan ka sa backyard nyo, then na-inspire ka magsulat ng kanta, then nilagay mo sa poem mo kung gaano kaganda yung mga bulaklak, mga halaman. So that is an example of ode poetry.
Alam mo
Yes,
yung
Miss Sampak.
example niyan? Ay, sige, Sampak mo na.
okay, so another example is when you admire or praise someone, like for example, your idol, okay? You want to create a poem about your idol, Katy Perry. So you're going to create an ode for it.
Exactly.
Another one for that example is the Ode to the West Wind. Still remember that poem back when we are still
Yes,
in
Yes,
college?
in
Ode to the West Wind
college.
is just admiration for the West Wind, yung literal na wind. Tapos natutuwa lang siya and then nakagawa siya ng poem na malupit na gano'n.
another is the ode to the nightingale or ode to a nightingale.
Kaloka kasi pinapatay ko kasi.
All are examples of English American literature. So if you're going to search for it, it's part of the English American literature. Moving.
Okay, moving on, we have the elegy. So this is a lyric poem with the subject matter uh, of death. So kapag say for example, may namayapang isang tao, kapag nagsulat ka ng poem about that person, ang tawag natin doon ay elegy. So usually, actually, you might be confused with elegy and eulogy, right? So pag sinabi natin elegy ay ito yung poem mismo about sa namatay na tao or namayapang tao. When we say eulogy naman, ito ay ang speech, right, Ms. Sampak?
Yes, so eulogy is a speech and elegy is a poem. Usually nowadays, what we're doing is actually a eulogy because whenever we attend wakes or burials, especially if it's a family member, we actually deliver eulogy. Okay, to what they call this one, to give tribute to someone who died.
Tribute.
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
Another example of poetry is a poem of 14 lines that follows a strict rhyme scheme. So, yung sonnet ay it's just like a one stanza contains of 4 lines with a strict rhyme scheme. Usually, ang mga sonnet ay kinukompose ng iambic pentameter. So, but we will not discuss that further. Yung example best sonnet writer natin ay si William Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, the great playwright as well. Okay, so if you're going to notice, his works are mostly sonnets and drama.
Okay, moving on, we have the haiku. It is the traditional short forms of poetry. It's actually a Japanese poetry, consists of 3 lines with 17 syllables written in 575 lines. I mean, it's composed of 3 lines with 575 syllabication, right? So say for example, ang unang rhyme, dapat 5 siya, right? Say for example, I look up to stars. O, 5.
Mm-mm. The syllabication that we're
Then,
talking about is the pantig in Filipino. Okay? Baka malito kayo. So it should be 5. 5 pantigs on the first line, 7 on the second line, 7 on the second line, then 5 again on the ending line.
okay.
So it's purely
Next
more
is
on
we have,
it's
all right.
purely more on nature, right? So the topic is usually about nature, okay, and its beauty.
Next is we have tanka. So it is also a traditional Japanese poetry, which consists of 5 lines in 30 syllables. So yung haiku natin, tatlo with 5 written in 575. Yung tanka natin naman 5. 57577. Yun naman yung syllabication.
So tangka is, or the topic of tangkas are all about love and nature. It can be
Love
love,
and
it can be
nature.
nature. You only need to choose one. So any
It
other
could be
additional?
love for nature.
It can be love for nature as well. Okay, or love for a person, love for the family, and so on and so forth. Okay, moving on.
Okay, we have the epic. So, ang epic natin ay hindi short story or drama or kung ano man. It's actually a long narrative poem, right? It's a story written in poem. So, it tells a story pa din.
It's a narrative.
Yes, it talks about the quest and adventure of a hero with unusual strength and power. Like example of this is the famous Filipino
Epic.
epic. We have the Biag ni Lamang by Pedro Bocani.
Yes.
So, yes.
We have also the longest epic.
Is
That is
Beowulf.
Beowulf.
Beowulf. You're Beowulf.
I'm Grendel, sir.
Okay, if you're going to contest, bakit ma'am nung elementary kami naka-story yung epic na pinapabasa sa amin? It is because it has been
Na-translate
translated.
na
Okay,
siya.
it's translated into a story for it to be understandable to all. Okay, so parang mas madali
Yung
siya.
ginamit ng mga words doon ay mas simple. Right?
So, kasi hindi siya poetic.
Para mas maintindihan.
May additional ka pa. Additional. Extend pa po 5 minutes. Okay, ballad. Sige.
Okay, so ballad is a form of narrative poetry that is considered to be the simplest and shortest form. It is meant to be sung, right? So meaning to say, ang ballad natin ay it is usually to be chanted, right? Actually, yung mga song natin, like yung mga songs natin, I consider din siya as ballad, right?
So it's meant to be sung. Okay, if you created a poem and you intend
Accompanied.
or your intention is for it to be sung, then it is considered a ballad as long as it is a narrative. Okay.
Poet.
One of the what do you call this one? One of the famous example of it is the rhyme of the ancient mariner. Okay. So if you're going to search for it, so makikita nyo doon na isa siyang ballad.
It is a narrative poem. Tandaan natin na nagkwento doon si ano pa nito? Coleridge, Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So pinakita doon yung buong kwento ng paglalakbay nila sa karagatan. So ballad is again tells a story of someone else or something.
Alright, moving.
So we're finished
With
sa poetry.
So now we move on to nonfiction. So Janlak, go.
Okay, when we say nonfiction, it is expository in nature that deals with facts and reality. So, meaning to say, yung nonfiction ay nangyayari sa tunay na buhay. May totoong ganong storya. Okay, hindi siya nanggaling sa imagination. Okay.
So, examples are?
We have first the autobiography. So when we say autobiography, from the word itself, auto, from the word like author, and biography is about life, right? Bio, life means life, graphy means writing. So meaning to say, writing your own story. Okay? This is the story of a person's life written by himself. Okay? Usually, class, it should be in first person pronoun. Yung mga I, I.
I, me.
Me. Myself, and I.
Yes. Okay. So autobiography is a story or your story written by you. Okay. No
You.
other person has written it. Unless,
Okay.
okay, it became
Biography. Okay, next is biography. This is story of life of a real person written by someone else. Ang biography naman ay kwento ng isang tao na sinulat ng iba. Say for example, ginawan ko ng biography si Miss Hampak. So, buhay ni Miss Hampak, pero ako ang nagsulat.
ano kaya
Okay,
ilalagay mo
since-
dun? Diyos ko.
Since,
Kinakabahan ako. Huwag mo akong gagawa ng biography.
okay, so biography uses third person pronoun.
Yes.
Yung
So,
he, she.
Kasi hindi naman ikaw yun, di ba?
correct. Kasi,
Ito na ibang
ano,
tao yun.
ka. Next.
Next is we have the essay. So this is a piece of writing which is often written from an author's personal point of view. So yung essay natin, it's an example of nonfiction kapag, lalo na kapag personal essays. Like say for example, your personal point of view about a certain issues or events. So that is an essay. Sabi, nagsulat ka ng point of view mo sa isang bagay or point of opinion mo sa isang sa isang situation or event. So, yun yung tinatawag nating essay, which you are familiar kasi since elementary, ginagawa natin yung essay which has three parts, right?
Oo, tama.
Introduction, body, and conclusion.
Okay? It should have those parts. Kasi kung hindi natin matatawag na essay. Okay? It's just a paragraph. Kung isa lang siyang ganun. Okay? So, dapat tatlo. Or more. Any other additional po? Wala na po ba? Abo, additional ketchup, mayonnaise, cheese.
Yung essay mula yan sa yung totoong salita niyan, French word ezai, di ba? Ezai. Kasi di ko alam kung tama ba ako. Pero sabi dun, si ano ang nagpasimula niyan si Francis Bacon. And then, ang meaning lang nun is to try. To try. Just try. So, kapag nagsusulat ka ng essay, mainly, dati, or until now, kung nagsusulat ka ng essay, it is, kung hindi ka talaga professional, is yung try mo lang, opinion mo sa isang bagay, o anong masasabi mo sa isang bagay.
Okay, but your opinion should always be based on the facts, okay, or something you have.
Yes.
Moving.
Drama.
Okay, we're moving on with the most dramatic
So for
part.
drama, yes.
Go.
So it is a story written which is intended to be performed or act and presented on stage, right? So meaning to say, yung drama, ito yung piniperform. Diba? Usually naman ginagawa natin for final project sa isang subject, right?
Okay.
Okay, so we have the examples of drama here. First is the tragedy. So this is a type of drama in which the main character is struggling against dynamic forces. So in tragedy, usually ito yung kapag may nangyaring masama sa mga characters, especially sa ating main characters. Example of this is Titanic, right? We also have the Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Pyramus and Thisbe sa mythology. Yes, Ms. Ampa?
So, drama is different from play, ha? Ito lang, dagdag ko lang. Drama and play are two different things. Pag sinabing drama, ito yung sinulat, ito yung script, ito yung acts, ito yung mga, what they call this one, mga parte ng drama, yung nakasulat. But when we say play, ito na yung napapanood natin, okay? So, magkaiba siya. Drama is a thing that is written, then yung play is yung nakikita natin na pinapalabas, ina-act. Okay, so tragedy is a kind of drama or a type of drama wherein malungkot yung ending. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Other additional pa po? Okay na, moving.
Okay, next is we have comedy and farce. So this is a type of drama intended to capture the interests and entertain audience through injecting wit and humor. Okay, when we say comedy, ito yung mga, it's meant to be humorous, yung mga nakakatawa. Okay? So comedy is a genre actually, and farce is a kind of comedy. So type of comedy siya yung farce. Okay?
It's just that farce
But
is actually,
they are both humorous.
it's just that for farce, the intention is to actually mock someone. Okay? Most of the time, politically, am I right? So, ganun siya. So, kung comedy, purely wit and humor, sa farce naman, it is witty, it is humorous, but there is a hidden, okay? There is a hidden mocking.
Kapag nagmumukha ng katanga-tanga yung character, that is farce. Like say for example, yung sa Canterbury Tales, right? Yung mga characters doon, talagang hindi mo alam kung siya, di ba? kung may something sa ulo. Kasi parang paulit-ulit yung nangyayari sa kanila. Parang hindi pa rin nadadala. Tapos parang gano'n. Ang nakakatawa na ewan.
Parang Dumbo is to die.
Oo, yes. Mga ganyan.
Nakakainis yun. Okay, go.
Next one is the tragic comedy. So it's a mixture of comedy and tragedy. So this is a type of drama which does not adhere strictly to the structure of tragedy. So meaning to say, mayroon siyang mga injection na hindi siya pure tragic comedy like a tragedy. So may mga insertion siya ng nakakatawa. But then it will end up pa rin sa tragic pa rin.
Other, ano pa po, additional, meron pa po ba? Okay na?
Add-ons.
Sige, go, Tim. Sir Tim.
So, kung hindi kayo makarelate kasi literature, tandaan nyo na ito yung mga pinag-ugatan ng slapstick comedy. Yung natatandaan nyo yung mga old school na comedy na naghahampasan, tapos nagkakasakitan. Doon kayo parang natatawa, di ba? Mas natatawa tayo sa mga nagsasakitan na ganyan. And mainly, hindi nga naka-intend sa para sa, alam niyo yung matatalino sobra. Yung hindi siya parang ganun yung i-critic mo sobra. It's for mainly entertainment lang naman. Okay? So, next natin.
Okay, next is melodrama. This is a type of drama which shows events that follow each other rapidly but seems to be governed by chance. So, yung mga melodrama, actually, ito yung parang mukhang mga teleserye. Like, kung kunyari, Maria Clara. So, ay, Maria Clara ba?
Mara Clara.
Oo, mga ganun. Mara Clara. So, may ano siya, may mga
Episodes.
what you call this? Mga events na parang sinadya talaga ng pagkakataon. Like say for example, yung diary ni Mara na akala mo naman, kung ako nakita ko na yun. Pero yung parang destined siya na hindi nakita. Something like that.
Inabot siya ng 7 years bago makita.
Ang daming mga pangyayari na talagang destined na mangyari.
Okay, so that's all for today. We'll see you on the next video. So we hope you learned something from us. Hindi lang puro kaek-ekan. Okay, so bye-bye. Okay na.